Here's a great, detailed and simple summary of the full passage you shared, explained in the easiest language possible, like you're learning from the best teacher ever. Great detailed summary in simple language. Danti Durga, a smart and powerful king of the Rashtrakuta dynasty, rose to greatness not just because he used elephants in war, which were strong like tanks, but because he was very intelligent in how he ruled and spread his image as a great leader. He used smart tactics and propaganda, like spreading stories and messages that made people believe he was chosen by God meant to rule. The reason Danti Durga became strong was because he understood the importance of the northern Deccan region, which is today part of western Maharashtra, like Nashik, Pune, etc. This area was very rich, with ancient cities, good farming, and lots of trade. It had been developed for years, more than places like the Malaprabha River Valley in modern Karnataka. Earlier kings, especially the Chalukyas, had also known this and worked hard to keep this area under their control. They used both wars and marriages to stay in power. For example, Pulakeshin the Sikh, a famous Chalukya king, spent so much time in that a Chinese traveller thought it was his capital. Another king, Vijayaditya, even visited the holy site of Ellora and gave away land there to gain respect. But during Danti Durga's time, the Chalukya emperor, called the Vatapi emperor, was weaker. He had less money and focused more on ruling the south, leaving his northern lands to be managed by vassals, smaller kings. This gave Danti Durga the perfect opportunity. He moved north, about 400 kilometers beyond his own family's lands, and took control of the holy site of Ellora. This place was very special because it had beautiful temples of Hindus, Buddhists and Jains, all living together peacefully. This shows how religiously pluralistic and tolerant medieval India was. At Ellora, we see the great skills of artists who carved amazing temples, monks who worshipped and taught there, kings who funded and supported the temples, and propagandists who told the world how great the king was. Ellora became a powerful place for religion, for art and for politics. But today it is often ignored or forgotten, even though it was one of the most wondrous and important places in India's history. Would you like me to create a timeline, map, or comic-style retelling of this story? It'll make it even more fun and easy to remember. Here is a great detailed summary of the passage, written in the simplest, clearest way, while keeping all the important points and deep meaning. Detailed summary of the passage on Ellora. Millions of years ago, the Deccan Plateau was formed by huge volcanic eruptions. Hot lava flowed out, and when it cooled, it became black basalt rock. This land, once part of an island, ancient India, moving toward Asia, later collided with the Asian continent, which created the Himalayas. In this lava-formed land, a place called Ellora developed, with its towering of basalt rock. Much later, during the medieval period, these cliffs became sacred. Religions, tribal, Hindu, Buddhist and Jain, began carving shrines and temples into the rock. Over many generations, Ellora became a place that reflected religious diversity, creativity, and even struggle. These carvings and monuments show how different groups tried to express their faith, identity, and beliefs through art and architecture. The passage challenges the royal narrative, Kings and Brahmins often claim to be the main, but the reality is more complex. Before kings and temples arrived, tribal people were already living in Ellora and worshipping nature, especially a river goddess named Parna, meaning leafless. These Adivasis, forest people, saw the nearby river, forests and cliffs as holy. They worshipped them long before the arrival of organized religion. Even today, worship of this river goddess continues, showing a continuity of belief from ancient tribal times to the present day. The original tribal people may have been absorbed into India's wider society, but their influence remains alive in religious practices. One royal woman, Bhavanagar, mother of the king Danti Durga, may have even descended from these tribal groups, suggesting a deep connection between tribal roots and royal power. Over time, as Ellora became famous, more people came, not only locals, but travellers, merchants, and religious teachers. Naturally, this drew the attention of kings, Brahmins, and monks. By the 4th century CE, clear evidence shows that Buddhists had already begun building and worshipping at Ellora. Over centuries, it became a shared sacred space for Hindus, Buddhists, and Jains, all leaving their marks on the same rocks. Key themes in simple points. 1. Natural formation. Ellora's land was shaped by ancient lava millions of years ago. 2. Original inhabitants. Tribal people lived and worshipped there long before kings. 3. River goddess. A goddess named Aparna linked to the river was central to tribal religion. 4. Religious continuity. Even today, her worship continues, showing strong cultural memory. 5. Arrival of religions. Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism came and built temples. 6. Shared sacred space. Ellora became a holy site for multiple religions. 7. Hidden histories. The passage reminds us that kings weren't the only makers of history. Common people, especially tribes, also shaped holy places. Let me know if you'd like this turned into a timeline, mind map, or visual. I can help with that too. Sure, here's a great detailed passage, written in the simplest and clearest way, so it's easy to understand and remember. Detailed summary of the passage on Ellora. Around the 5th century CE, a new type of Hinduism began to spread across India. This form of Hinduism was based on Puranic stories about gods like Shiva, Vishnu, and the goddess, and temple worship. At the same time, a new religious presence appeared at Ellora, a rocky region in Maharashtra. An old tells us that a tribal leader who worshipped Shiva came to Ellora. But when he arrived, he found that the area was already full of religious diversity. There were worshippers of Vishnu and the great goddess, Devi, Jains, followers of Jainism, Buddhists, holy men and teachers, ascetics and gurus, and even smaller sects like the Sauras, sun worshippers, and Maladharas. Even though Ellora may have started as a tribal site, it became a special and spiritual place that attracted many religions. These groups lived together peacefully, and kings or rulers mostly stayed out of their affairs. The Shaiva chief slowly began to make the place more focused on Shiva by settling Brahmin priests in nearby villages. But it took about 200 years before Shiva worship became dominant at Ellora. During that time, Buddhists and Jains were still strong and active in the region. One of the most remarkable features of Ellora is its rock-cut temples, carved into basalt cliffs. These were not just built by kings. Ordinary people like merchants and pilgrims also paid for and supported these temple projects. The same architects and sculptors worked on temples for different religions. As a result, they shared designs, symbols, and maybe even worship styles with one another. This sharing and cooperation made Ellora famous as a unique place of peaceful religious blending. Evidence from stone writings shows that royal families like the Chalukya's of Mahishmati, ancestors of Queen Lokamahadevi, helped build temples there. At the same time, another royal family, the Vatapi Chalukyas, changed another holy place, Mahakuta, to reflect their special version of Shiva called Makuteshvara, the crowned lord. But Ellora also showed something more important. Religious change and growth didn't always need kings. Merchants, pilgrims, monks, and spiritual leaders were powerful enough to build temples, spread ideas, and shape holy places, all on their own. Main points to remember. Ellora became a multi-religious site around the century. It included Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, and other sects. A Shaiva chieftain began to promote Shiva worship there. Rock-cut temples were made not just by kings, but also by common people. Different religions shared art, rituals, and builders. Religious life at Ellora was peaceful and cooperative. Ellora shows that ordinary people, not just rulers, helped shape India's spiritual history. Let me know if you'd like a short version or if you want it in question-answer form for revision. Here is a great detailed summary of the passage you gave in the simplest and clearest way. covering all key points. Detailed summary of the passage, Ellora and religious transformation. The passage describes the development of Ellora, a famous religious site in India, focusing on how it transformed over time with the help of patrons, sculptors, and pilgrims, not just kings. 1. Role of patrons in building Ellora. Both royal, kings, queens, and non-royal patrons, merchants, common people, funded the creation of monasteries and temples. These temples were not built above the ground, but were carved directly into ancient solid rock, also called primordial rock. The inside of these monasteries was filled with the deep, echoing sounds of monks chanting. Monks wore simple saffron or white robes. 2. Historical background and royal influence. In the 6th century, inscriptions, stone writings, show that the Chalukya dynasty of Mahishmati, including Queen Lokamahadevi's family, supported some of the early cave excavations. At the same time, another royal dynasty, the Vatapi Chalukyas, transformed a sacred spring at Mahakuta into a temple for their family deity, Shiva Makuteshvara. 3. Non-royal contributions were also important. The passage emphasizes that religious change and temple building didn't always require kings. Merchants, pilgrims, and preachers also played a big role. They built and funded temples. Their devotion helped turn ordinary places into important religious sites. 4. Growth of Ellora's rock temples. Over many generations, sculptors called stapatis and various donors slowly expanded and improved the cave temple. Early caves were small and simple, but later ones became huge, beautifully decorated, and filled with amazing sculpture. By the 8th century, Ellora's sculptors were creating graceful and calm-looking statues of gods and goddesses, showing their high artistic skill. What made Ellora unique? Ellora was not like other pilgrimage sites, tirthas. It was special because it allowed women to worship the Shiva Linga, a symbol of Lord Shiva, which was rare at the time. A local story tells of Shiva reviving a Brahmin woman's dead son because of her deep devotion. Such stories helped make Ellora famous for Shiva worship. 6. Ellora becomes a major pilgrimage center. What began as just villages in the 5th century grew into a cultural hub. Many pilgrims and religious teachers came, and with them came shopkeepers, hawkers, and food sellers to serve the crowds. Even powerful kings visited Ellora to show off their devotion and wealth by building or sponsoring temples. Key takeaway. Ellora's greatness was not just because of kings. It grew because of the faith, effort, and donations of many kinds of people, from humble monks and pilgrims to rich merchants and mighty rulers. Over centuries, it became one of India's most beautiful and sacred places, filled with masterful rock-cut architecture, spiritual stories, and divine devotion. Let me know if you want a visual summary, timeline, or mind map too. Sure. Here's a great detailed passage in the simplest and clearest way. Summary. In the year 742, a powerful king named Danti Durga, who started the Rastrakuta dynasty, wanted to show everyone that he was a strong and rightful ruler. To do this, he chose Ellora, a very holy and famous religious place in India, where people from different religions came to worship. Ellora was special because it had temples for many gods and religions, and people believed the land and water there were sacred. There was even a holy waterfall that flowed during the monsoon season. Danti Durga bathed in that holy water to perform a religious act, which made his action more sacred. To that, he gave a land grant, a gift of land, to Brahmins, priests and scholars who came from Navasarika, the capital city of the latter Chalukya kingdom. This was a big and respected city at the time. By doing this, Danti Durga was copying the actions of past kings, his ancestors, who had also invited Brahmins from important places to gain respect and legitimacy. By giving land to Brahmins and choosing such a holy place for his actions, Danti Durga was trying to show he was a good religious king, gain support and respect from people, prove he was part of a royal tradition, strengthen his claim as a true and powerful ruler. Points recap in form. Ellora was a holy site connected to many gods and religions. Danti Durga used this place to perform a religious ceremony. He bathed in a holy waterfall, still visible today. He gave land to Brahmins from a respected city, Navasarika. He followed the example of earlier kings to build his own royal image. This helped him gain legitimacy and be seen as a rightful king. Let me know if you'd like this as a timeline, a flowchart, or in story format for easier learning. Here is a great detailed summary of the passage, written in the simplest, clearest English, with all key points explained. This will help you understand both the facts and the deeper meanings. Detailed summary of the passage in simple language. Danti Durga builds a powerful kingdom. Danti Durga, a young king from the Rastrakuta dynasty, created a large and strong kingdom. His land stretched from Elishpur to Ellora, covering hundreds of square kilometers. This made his kingdom as big and important as the older kingdoms of the early Chalukya kings. He was no longer a small ruler. He had become a major power in the Deccan, central South India. 2. Danti Durga had bigger goals than Pulakeshi Raja. There was another king named Pulakeshi Raja from the Lata Chalukyas, a branch of the Chalukyas. Pulakeshi was aggressive, but his dreams were smaller, was more patient, clever, and ambitious. He didn't just want to rule a small area, he wanted the Chalukya throne itself. 3. Danti Durga uses religion and royal titles to show his power. At a sacred place like Ellora, Danti Durga performed the duties of a righteous king. He gains Hindu priests. He took on royal titles like Prithvi Vallabha, beloved of the earth. This title was given to him by Vikramaditya II, the current Chalukya emperor, which made it even more powerful. By doing these actions in public, he was saying, "I'm not just strong. I am religious, generous, noble, and royal. I deserve to be the Chalukya emperor." He also claimed that since his mother was a Lata Chalukya, he had a rightful blood connection to the Chalukya throne at Vatapi, the old Chalukya capital. Danti Durga wanted to impress the whole Deccan. Everything Danti Durga did, giving land, showing titles, performing religious duties, was meant to show people all over the Deccan that he was a true king. He wanted everyone to see him as martial, brave in war, righteous, just and fair, generous, helping others, and a protector of religion and Brahmins. 5. Vikramaditya II was not paying attention. At the same time, Vikramaditya VI, the actual Chalukya emperor, was busy fighting the young Pallava king in the south. He was also giving money to build temples in his own land, trying to look like a great king too. He didn't notice that Danti Durga was growing stronger and making royal claims. Why? Because he saw Danti Durga as an ally, a friend, who helped him fight Pulakeshi Raja of the Lata Chalukyas. He trusted Danti Durga too much and didn't see him as a threat. Vikramaditya II may have even been happy when Danti Durga invited Brahmins from Navasarika, the Lata Chalukya capital, to Ellora and gave them land. Vikramaditya II may have felt pleased. He may have thought, Danti Durga is showing off in the right way. He's better than that hot-headed Pulakeshi Raja. Key takeaways, quick points. Danti Durga built a large and respected kingdom. He was clever, religious, and political. He used his royal axe to claim the Chalukya throne. Vikramaditya ignored the threat because he thought Danti Durga was a helpful friend. Danti Durga was quietly growing stronger, preparing to take over the Chalukya Empire. Let me know if you want a timeline, map, or story version next. I can make it even easier to visualize. Here's a great detailed summary of the paragraph you gave, written in very simple English for complete understanding. Detailed summary. In the year 743 CE, 1 year after Danti Durga gave land to Brahmins at Ellora, the Lokshvara temple, a grand Shiva temple, was almost completed. At the same time, the Chalukya king Vikramaditya II decided to attack the Pallava capital Kanchi for the third and final time. But this time, he didn't go himself. Instead, he sent his son, Prince Kirtivarman, called Yuvaraja, meaning crown prince, to lead the army. This was done to build the prince's reputation, to show he was brave, strong, and ready to become king in the future. Years ago, Vikramaditya and his wife, Queen Lokamahadi, had made their name by attacking the same enemy, the Pallavas. Now they were giving their son the same opportunity. But this third attack on Kanchi was more violent than before. When Vikramaditya had attacked earlier, he had been gentle and respectful toward and its temples, but his son's campaign was harsher, likely with more destruction and looting. Durga, who was officially a vassal, subordinate king under Vikramaditya II, also joined this war. He likely fought alongside the Chalukyas, but he also took a lot of treasure, booty, for himself. Later in life, when he became more powerful, he claimed that he had conquered Kanchi all by himself, which was clearly an exaggeration. After winning 3 times against the Pallavas, Vikramaditya II had fulfilled his royal duties. He had been a strong and winning wars and ruling wisely. He died in 745 CE, soon after this final campaign. Then, his son Kirtivarman II was crowned as the new king and took over the throne. Keys to remember is 743 CE, Lokeshvara temple nearly completed. Third war on Kanchi, led by Vikramaditya's son. Purpose, to prove the prince's capability. Danti Durga joined, collected treasure, and later boasted he won Kanchi alone. Vikramaditya II died in 755, after a great royal life. Kirtivarman II became the next king. Would you like a timeline, a character chart, or the next part of the story too? Here is a great detailed sum written in the simplest and clearest way while still covering all important points. Detailed summary of Danti Durga's rise to power. Danti Durga was a powerful and clever ruler of the Rastrakuta dynasty. For many years, he served under the Chalukya king Vikramaditya II as a vassal, which means he ruled a smaller kingdom under the authority of a bigger king. During this time, Danti Durga carefully studied the Chalukya Empire. He learned how their political system worked, who the important leaders were, and what mistakes the Chalukyas made. One big mistake he noticed was that Vikramaditya II did not attack the Umayyad invaders from Arabia when he had the chance. Instead, Vikramaditya focused on repeatedly attacking the already weakened Pallava kingdom, which did not improve his power much. He also neglected the northern part of the Deccan region, that became weak. Danti tried to fight Vikramaditya while he was alive because the Chalukya king was still strong and had many allies. But when Vikramaditya died, his son Kirtivarman VI became the new king. Kirtivarman was young and inexperienced and did not have the same strong support. By this time, around 745 CE, Danti Durga had already ruled for over 10 years and had grown more confident. He was already showing his power in places like Ellora, where he built monuments and issued inscriptions. Now he decided to challenge the Chalukyas directly. To prove he was powerful, Danti Durga planned a spectacular military campaign. He wanted to show the world that he was a true king who could protect the people and uphold Dharma, the righteous duty of a ruler. So, he sent his army with strong war elephants northwards across the Vindhya mountains to the city of Ujjain. Ujjain was an ancient, sacred and powerful city. A few years earlier, the Umayyad Arabs, called Tajikas, had tried and failed to capture Ujjain, but now the region was weakened by internal fighting between 2 branches of its ruling clan, the Pratiharas. This gave Danti Durga the perfect opportunity to strike. Danti Durga's military campaign was successful. His elephants broke through enemy fortresses. According to inscriptions called Prashastis, the enemy's forts and their courage both collapsed. This victory showed that Danti Durga was stronger than both the Chalukyas and the foreign invaders. It was the beginning of the rise of the Rashtrakuta Empire. Key point: Durga served under Chalukya king Vikramaditya II as a vassal. He studied their politics and waited for the right time. Vikramaditya made mistakes by ignoring real threats like the Umayyads. After Vikramaditya's death, Danti Durga acted against the weaker successor. He gained confidence and power through his early rule and activities in Ellora. He launched a bold military campaign to Ujjain. Ujjain had resisted foreign invaders but was now weakened. Dante Durga defeated them and showed he was ready to become a great ruler. Let me know if you'd like a shorter version, a timeline, or a diagram mind map of this summary. Absolutely. Here's a great entire passage, written in clear, simple language, but with all the important details included. Great detailed summary of the passage on Dante Durga and the Hiranyagarbha ritual. Dante Durga, a young and rising king of the Rastrakuta dynasty, wanted to prove that he was not just a powerful warrior, but also a rightful divine ruler who could bring peace and order to the world. Many people across the Indian subcontinent were watching him closely. To show his greatness and declare himself as a true, independent emperor, he performed a grand and sacred ritual called the Hiranyagarbha, which means golden womb. This ceremony took place in Ujjain, a very high city that had been celebrated in poetry, stories and plays. The great poet Kalidasa once called it a hallowed place of heaven. By choosing city, Dante Durga made sure that the ritual felt sacred and important. The Hiranyagarbha ritual symbolized the creation of the universe. In this ritual, the king was symbolically reborn from a golden egg, just like the universe was born in Hindu cosmology. Through this, Dante Durga showed that he was becoming a new godlike king, chosen to restore cosmic order and uphold dharma, righteousness and duty. This act was similar to what his distant ancestor, Pulakeshinai, had done centuries earlier with the Ashvamedha horse sacrifice. Both rituals were ways of declaring total royal power and independence. By performing the Hiranyagarbha, Dante Durga was announcing to the world that he was now the supreme sovereign, no longer under any other king or ruler. The ritual was grand and public, designed to impress everyone watching. It took place in a special sacrificial pavilion, beautifully decorated with bright-coloured banners, bells, and the Rastrakuta eagle emblem. In each direction of the pavilion there were fire pits, and defeated rival kings were made to stand as gatekeepers, a way to show that even his enemies now bowed to him. During the ceremony, gold coins, gems and riches were generously handed out to the poor priests, brahmanas, and deserving people. This act of generosity was also meant to win support and show that Dante Durga was not just powerful, but also kind and noble. As the priests chanted holy Vedic mantras and the music of drums and trumpets grew louder, Dante Durga sat inside a giant golden jar decorated with a sun symbol, symbolizing the cosmic egg. The jar was made of gold, pearls, rubies, and other jewels, representing the universe itself. Finally, as the chants and music reached a peak, Dante Durga emerged from the golden egg, just like the universe was born from the cosmic womb. The crowd roared with excitement, and everyone saw him as a reborn king with a celestial, godlike body. After this, baby ceremonies like Jatakarman, normally done for newborns, were performed for him. In a symbolic gesture, his wife played the role of his mother, completing the idea that he had truly been born again, not just as a man, but as a divine emperor. In short, Dante Durga performed the Hiranyagarbha, golden womb ritual to show he was a divine, world-ruling emperor. It was held in Ujjain, a holy city. The ritual symbolized rebirth, power, and the creation of cosmic order. He emerged from a golden egg to show he was born again as a sacred ruler. Gold and gems were given to the people. Even defeated kings were made to stand as servants in the ritual. The ceremony impressed everyone and declared that Dante Durga was now the supreme king, blessed by the gods and worthy to rule the world. Would you like a shorter revision note, a visual map diagram, or even some possible exam-style questions based on this? Sure. Here's a detailed summary of the passage, clearly and simply. Overview. The passage describes the rise of Dante Durga, a powerful king from the Rastrakuta dynasty, and how he challenged the existing Chalukya empire, which had been weak in problems and external threats. The conflict between Dantidurga and the Chalukyas, particularly their emperor Kirtivarman II, unfolds, with Dantidurga's rise to power and the Chalukyas' defeat. Key characters and events. 1. Dantidurga. Dantidurga is a king of the Rastrakuta dynasty. He is ambitious and sets out to expand his power by attacking the Chalukyas, an empire once very strong but now weakened. He also has political support from smaller kingdoms, called vassals, who align with him due to his rising strength. Dantidurga's military might is highlighted, including his use of war elephants to defeat his enemies and conquer lands. 2. Bhavanaga. Bhavanaga, Dantidurga's mother, is from the Chalukya dynasty, and she had influence in the region. Her family's power is now waning due to Dantidurga's conquests. Raja. Pulakeshi Raja was a powerful Chalukya king and the grand uncle of Dantidurga. On Pulakeshi Raja, the Chalukyas ruled over a large area, including Lutta. However, by this time, Pulakeshi Raja's kingdom is no longer under the control of the Chalukyas, and Dantidurga is taking over these lands. 4. Kirtivarman II. Kirtivarman II is the emperor at the time. He is struggling to keep his empire intact and is unable to defend his territories from Dantidurga's growing power. Kirtivarman II represents the weakened state of the Chalukya Empire, showing how difficult it was for him to maintain control. 5. Garudavajaj is a symbol of Vishnu, a Hindu god. Dantidurga uses this symbol to show his connection to divine power, strengthening his position as a ruler. 6. Navasarika. Navasarika is an important region that was under Bhavanaga's family. Dantidurga successfully captures this region and installs a Rastrakuta prince as the governor, further consolidating his control. Gangas. The Ganga family in the southern part of India who were allies of the Chalukyas. They face an attack from a Tamil king who sees the Chalukyas as weak and vulnerable. 8. Tamil king. The Tamil king is a ruler from the southern part of India who uses the weakness of the Chalukyas to attack the Gangas, one of their key allies. 9. Battle of Venbais of 48. Kirtivarman II, the Chalukya emperor, leads an army south to defend the Gangas from the Tamil king. However, the Chalukyas suffer a crushing defeat in the Battle of Venbai in 748. This defeat leaves the Chalukyas even weaker, showing that the Chalukya Empire is struggling to maintain its power and influence. Detailed events and summary. 1. Dantidurga's rise. Dantidurga rises to power, quickly defeating and taking over lands that were once ruled by the Chalukyas. He seizes Lata and Navasarika, which were important to the Chalukyas, and replaces their governors with Rastrakuta princes. Dantidurga gains the support of several smaller kingdoms called vassals, who want to ally with him because of his increasing strength. 2. Defeat of the Chalukyas. The Chalukya emperor, Kirtivarman II, does not take immediate action to stop Dantidurga's advances. This shows his inability to handle the growing threat from Dantidurga. Meanwhile, the Tamil king from the southern part of India sees that the Chalukya Empire is weak. He attacks the Gangas, who are the Chalukya's allies, and this attack shakes the foundation of the Chalukya power in the south. 3. The Battle of Venbai, 748. Kirtivarman II tries to protect his southern territories and heads south to fight the Tamil king. However, heals badly and is defeated in the Battle of Venbai in 748. This defeat further weakens the Chalukya Empire, showing that Kirtivarman II's rule is becoming more unstable. The defeat also exposes the Chalukya's vulnerability to other powers. Before Kirtivarman II's realization. After the defeat at Venbai, Kirtivarman II realizes that his position as emperor is now in serious danger. He understands that the only way to protect his rule is by defeating Dantidurga, who has become a major threat. This realization shows how the Chalukya Empire has lost its former power and that Dantidurga is now the dominant force in the region. In summary, Dantidurga from the Rastrakuta dynasty challenges the Chalukyas, whose empire is weakening. Dantidurga takes control of key territories once held by the Chalukyas and gains support from smaller kingdoms. The Chalukya emperor Kirtivarman II is too weak to stop him and is further humiliated by a defeat in the Chalukya's allies, the Gangas, are also attacked, leading to even greater instability. Kirtivarman too eventually realizes that to stabilize his rule he must defeat Danti Durga, who has now become the biggest threat to his power. This summary highlights how political struggles, battles and alliances shape the history of these ancient kingdoms, showing the rise and fall of empires and how the fate of a king often depends on their ability to defend their kingdom and maintain control. Here's a great detailed summary of the full passage, written in clear, simple and thorough language to help you understand everything in one go. Nashrat detailed summary. Rise of Danti Durga and the Rastrakutas. By the year 749 CE, Danti Durga, the founder of the Rastrakuta dynasty, was expanding his influence by moving northward. His strategy was to win support by granting land to his loyal followers, known as loyalists. However, as he went further north, he started to lose support, likely because people there didn't know him or didn't trust his rule yet. To strengthen his position, he began giving land in towns and villages all across the Godavari River basin, which was a fertile and rich area, perfect for farming and trade. This region became his strong base of power. Danti Durga also claimed that his mother, Bhavananaga of the Chalukya family, had made land grants in 400,000 villages. A clear exaggeration, but it showed that he wanted to connect his rule to past respected rulers and gain the support of local leaders, village communities, and Brahmins, a respected priestly class. These groups were attracted to Danti Durga's promise of fair and attentive rule. Compared to the Malaprabha Valley, the area controlled by the Chalukyas, the Godavari region was much richer and more strategically important for building a strong empire in the Deccan region, central southern India. By 751, Danti Durga was confident enough to expand westwards. He took control of parts of the Konkan coast, a valuable area along the Arabian Sea, from the Vatapi Chalukyas, the old ruling family. Evidence from this time, such as inscriptions made by merchants, show that people were starting to recognize Danti Durga's power, though many were still unsure whether to fully accept him as their supreme king. They were waiting to see who would finally win the ongoing power struggle. By 754, Danti Durga's victory seemed near. He had managed to build a strong imperial network through intense political efforts and had taken control of most of what we now call Maharashtra. He proudly claimed that he had defeated his rival, Vallabha, using a spike of wild rice as a mace, a poetic and symbolic way of saying he through control of agricultural wealth, not just war. This highlights how important farming land and food resources were for gaining power. Danti also shown through his use of the Nagari script, a very early form of the Devanagari script, used for Sanskrit and many modern Indian languages. This was not usually used in the south. The southern rulers, like the Chalukyas, used old Kannada script. By using Nagari, Danti Durga was trying to connect himself to the prestigious Sanskrit-speaking culture of northern India, known as the Sanskrit cosmopolis. This helped present him as a royal, cultured and powerful emperor, giving him what scholars call imperial charisma. Key point summary. Danti Durga expanded north in 749, giving land to loyal supporters. He gained strong support in the Godavari River basin. He claimed his mother had given grants in 400,000 villages, likely exaggerated. Brahmins, local leaders and village people supported his promises of fair rule. He captured Konkan from the Chalukyas in 751. Merchants recognized his power but waited to call him their full king. By 754, he had taken most of Maharashtra. He used farming wealth as a symbol of power. He used Nagari script to connect with northern cultural prestige. His rule marked the beginning of Rashtrakuta imperial dominance. Would you like this turned into Q&A or flashcards for easier studying? Here is a great detailed summary of the passage in the clearest language so that even a beginner can understand and remember it easily. Detailed summary of the passage. The passage is about King Danti Durga, the first major ruler of the Rastrakuta dynasty, and how he used art, architecture and temples to show his power and greatness, not just through war, but through grand temple-building projects. Even though he probably defeated the Chalukyas, an older powerful dynasty, in battle, the historical records are unclear. So to show people he was now the true ruler, Dante Durga began using propaganda, not lies, but smart displays of power through religion, art and architecture. His biggest act of such display was at Ellora, a famous place with cave temples carved into solid rock. Dante Durga took over a half-finished Buddhist cave and transformed it into a huge and stunning Hindu temple. He wanted this temple to be more beautiful and impressive than anything ever built before, even greater than what the Chalukyas or Pallavas had created. In doing this, he followed the example of Pallava king Narasimha, who had also used art to show power. This new temple, now known as the Dashavatara cave, had 44 beautifully carved stone pillars on the first floor, huge spaces filled with statues and decorations, a design that used the sunlight from the front entrance to create magical light effects inside the cave. The architects, Stapatis, were given complete freedom and lots of money and resources from the empire, unlike before when small temples were made by local communities. These architects used their best creative ideas to design a space where every step feels like entering a new world. As you walk through the temple, your view keeps changing because of how the pillars and carvings are arranged. It feels endless, like a dream or a maze. The light and shadows make it look like magic is happening all around you. A sculpture expert, Carmel Berkson, said that this temple is like Indra's gem from Hindu stories, a magical gem that reflects light in millions of directions. That means you can't understand the whole beauty of the temple from one spot. You have to move through it, and then it slowly reveals its wonders. Final message of the passage. Dante Durga used religion and art as a form of royal power and political message. By building one of the largest and most artistic cave temples in India, he was the true king now. He's strong and full of talent. Art and architecture could be as powerful as weapons in showing greatness. Would you like a mind map, table or visual chart of this summary to help you remember it better? Sure. Here's a great detailed summary of the passage in clear and simple language, covering every key idea, step by step. Detailed summary of the Dashavatara cave sculpture description. The passage describes a powerful and dramatic experience of seeing the sculptures inside the Dashavatara cave at Ellora. It focuses on one extraordinary panel showing Narasimha, the man-lion form of Vishnu, in a fierce battle with Hiranyakashipu. The first impressions. Beauty and energy. As you enter the cave, your eyes are naturally pulled toward a stunning sculpture at the far end of the first pillared corridor. The pillars in front are bathed in sunlight and are decorated with beautiful and meaningful carvings like overflowing pots, symbolizing abundance and blessings, floral designs, adding beauty, serpents symbolizing power or divinity, dwarves showing joy, playfulness, walking through a sacred and artistic path towards something majestic. This entire visual experience prepares you to witness something truly masterful. 2. The Narasimha panel, a moment frozen in time. You then reach a large sculpture panel, taller than a person, where the artist has carved deeply into the rock, making the figure of Narasimha almost pop out of the wall, giving it a powerful 3D effect. This panel captures the climactic moment from Hindu mythology. Narasimha, Vishnu in his man-lion form, is about to kill the demon Hiranyakashipu. The demon is the brother of Hiranyaksha, another demon who once stole the earth and was defeated by another form of Vishnu, Varaha. This isn't a quiet, peaceful sculpture. It's full of intense motion and energy. The traditional calm style of Ellora caves is gone. Here, the figures are alive with motion, carved with dynamic, diagonal lines, strong poses, and wild emotion. 3. The unique style, breaking the rules. The artists of this cave ignored the classical rules called Shastras of perfect body proportions, chose to give the figures a raw and primal energy, especially in the heads, hands and feet. Created movement and intensity, not symmetry or calm. Even though the sculpture is damaged, some legs are missing, you can tell that both Narasimha and the demon had strong, grounded stances, showing they were in the middle of a powerful fight. Narasimha has many arms, spread out wide to show divine strength. The demon is about to strike with a sword, and the moment captured is just before Narasimha rips open the demon's belly, the very instant before death. And 4. Political symbolism, more than just religion. The fight between Narasimha and Hiranyakashipu might not just be about mythology. It could also be a symbolic representation of a real king's victory. Narasimha could represent Danti Durga, a historical ruler. The demon could represent his enemy from the Chalukya dynasty. Through this sculpture, Danti Durga may be showing that, like Vishnu defeated evil, he too has defeated his rival and deserves power.
Power 5!
The deeper sacred space. Even though the cave is called Dashavatara, meaning 10 incarnations of Vishnu, it is actually dedicated to the god Shiva. As you go deeper inside, you approach the linga, a symbol of Shiva. The atmosphere becomes silent and sacred, like being in the heart of a mountain. You see more dramatic carvings showing Shiva killing demons, Vishnu walking over the 3 worlds, Varaha, Vishnu's boar form, lifting the earth. These all represent divine protection and cosmic balance. 6. The message of power. Danti Durga's royal titles. The passage ends by highlighting the glory of King Danti Durga, who ordered or supported the creation of such grand sculptures, took on royal and divine titles, such as Sri Prithvi Vallabha, beloved of the earth, Maharaja Dhiraja, great king of kings, Parameshvara, supreme lord, Khadgavaloka, he whose sword shines like lightning. These titles, combined with the powerful art, make a clear political and spiritual statement. Danti Durga is not just a king, he is a godlike ruler, protector of dharma, righteousness, and rightful emperor.
Final summary 1.
This passage describes a breathtaking and intense sculpture of Narasimha in Ellora's Dashavatara cave, which, through powerful and unorthodox artistic style, expresses divine energy, royal authority, and the political victory of King Danti Durga over his enemies, blending mythology and history into one grand symbolic message. Would you like a mind map or bullet points version for easy revision too? Here's a great detailed summary of the passage you shared, written in very clear and simple English, but still rich in information. Summary: the sudden death of Danti Durga and its impact. By the year 756 CE, Danti Durga, the powerful ruler of the Rastrakuta dynasty, was getting ready for a final and important move, either through war or peaceful talks, to take full control of the Deccan region of India. To succeed, he needed to break the strong alliance between the Chalukyas, his rivals, and their most loyal supporters, the Rastrakutas and the Gangas. These groups were deeply loyal to the Chalukyas, not just through politics, but also through family marriages. Because of this bond, they were ready to go to bloody war to protect the Chalukya kingdom. Danti Durga was so confident and prepared, he ordered a grand inscription, a public message carved in stone, on the walls of the Dashavatara cave temple. This inscription was like a royal poem used to celebrate and praise his rule, his greatness, and his achievements. But suddenly, months before his army was about to go into battle, something terrible happened. While the 30th verse of the inscription was being carved, a disaster struck. We do not know exactly what happened. History doesn't tell us clearly. However, in a poetic and symbolic way, ancient records say that Danti Durga's fame reached heaven, and heavenly women, called Apsaras, begged him to join them. This is a poetic way of saying Danti Durga died suddenly while still young and at the height of. Durga was just a king. He was an extraordinary person. Smart administrator, he managed the kingdom well. A clever diplomat, he made wise deals with others. A skilled publicist, he spread his fame well. And an aesthete, a lover of art and beauty. He died without leaving a child or heir, so there was no one ready to take over his kingdom. His elephant army, which he loved dearly, may have lined up in silence, mourning as his body was taken to be cremated in a royal funeral. Even though he had achieved so much, Dante Durga died before finishing his final goal. The struggle to rule the Deccan region was not yet over. What this tells us: Dante Durga was on the edge of achieving total power, but fate cut his life short. His death left a power vacuum, meaning no one clear ruler was left. It shows how fragile political power can be. One sudden event can change history. Let me know if you want a visual summary, timeline, or a comic-style story version of this. Here's a great detailed summary of the passage in very simple and clear English, combining all key points and context so you fully understand what happened and why it mattered. Summary: the comeback efforts of Chalukya king Kirtivarman Singh. Kirtivarman II was a king of the Chalukya dynasty in South India. During his reign in the mid-700s, a new and rising power, Durga, the founder of the Rastrakuta dynasty, began taking over Chalukya territories, especially Maharashtra, by around 754 CE. Although Kirtivarman was losing control over parts of his kingdom, he never gave up hope. He continued to believe he could restore his power. His morale and confidence grew, especially after a turn of events that he believed was a sign of divine favour, possibly Dante Durga's death. Smart use of symbols and religious propaganda. To strengthen his image and win back the trust of his vassals, the smaller rulers under him, Kirtivarman launched a powerful symbolic campaign. 1. He erected a grand stone pillar near the Lokeshvara temple, a holy place where many people would see it. 2. The pillar was covered with a poetic inscription praising his royal family and their divine connections. It started with a romantic image of Lord Shiva and Parvati showing divine love and strength. It then compared this divine pair to Kirtivarman's own parents, portraying them as blessed and powerful too. Glorifying his family, his mother Loka Mahadevi was described as like goddess Uma, a mother to all mankind, and the builder of the Lokeshvara temple. His father Vikramaditya II was praised as fortune's favourite, Earth's beloved, the bruiser of Kanchi, king who defeated the city of Kanchi in battle. He also restarted construction on a temple dedicated to his other mother, Chalukya Mahadevi, who had been left incomplete after her death. Support from the north and religious legitimacy. To show his religious devotion and far-reaching power, Kirtivarman invited a learned Brahmin, Hindu priest from the northern Ganga River area, which was far from his kingdom, gave the Brahmin land and control of a temple built by his grandfather Vijayaditya, called the Vijayashvara, Lord of Victory. This move showed he still had connections, wealth and respect from educated religious elites, even from far-off regions. Using sophisticated script, just like Dante Durga, Kirtivarman used the Nagari script for his inscription, a writing style used by the upper class and scholars in India at the time. This helped show that he was also educated, refined, and worthy of ruling, just like his rival.
As a final comeback attempt.
After Dante Durga died, possibly in 756 to 758 CE, Kirtivarman felt ready to reclaim his lost power. He gathered his army and marched north, possibly hoping to repeat the glorious northern campaigns of his grandfather Vijayaditya, who had once expanded Chalukya rule into North India. Key takeaway: Kirtivarman VI tried to recover his image, authority and empire through religious symbolism, family pride, temple building, clever propaganda, cultural sophistication, finally military action. He hoped to remind his people that he was a true king of a powerful legacy and that he still deserved loyalty and glory. Let me know if you'd like a visual mind map, timeline, or a bullet point version too. Here's a great detailed summary of the passage you gave, written in the simplest and clearest way, step by step. That you, 1, thought the Rastrakutas would fall apart. After the Rastrakuta king Dantidurga died, the Chalukyas hoped the Rastrakuta kingdom would become weak and broken. They thought this was the perfect chance to regain their lost power. 2, but a new strong leader emerged. Krishna, Dantidurga's uncle Krishna became the next Rashtrakuta ruler. He was already a powerful general and had even fought the Chalukyas earlier. Now, as king, he was ready to crush them once and for all. Pashna 3, the big final battle in 757 CE. In the year 757, the Rashtrakutas and Chalukyas finally fought a decisive battle. Krishna I's army was stronger, richer, and better organized. The Chalukyas were defeated completely. Their last emperor and all his sons were killed. This was a massive defeat, and the Chalukyas never recovered. 4. Rashtrakuta stories celebrated Krishna's victory. Poets and writers under Krishna told symbolic and poetic stories about the win. They said the Chalukya's symbol, the boar, turned into a frightened female deer. This meant they had become weak and scared. They said Krishna took the goddess of royal fortune away from the Chalukyas on the battlefield. This meant he took away their power, throne, and success. They described the goddess as being so attracted to Krishna's strength that she gave herself to him. This was poetic language to say that Krishna was now the rightful ruler. 5. Personal twist. Bhavanaga's revenge. Krishna's nephew, Dantidurga, was the son of Bhavanag, a woman from the Chalukya royal family. So, Bhavanaga had once belonged to the very family Krishna destroyed. But now, with Krishna's victory and her son's legacy, it was like she had gotten revenge on her own family for rejecting her or for past conflicts. 6. The aftermath. A new power rises. The Chalukyas, who had ruled for 200 years, were gone forever. This caused shock and confusion across the region, especially in Karnataka. Many local rulers, priests, merchants and smaller kings had to decide whom to support, a weakened Chalukya relative or the strong and victorious Rashtrakuta king Krishna. Most chose Krishna because he was now the most powerful king in the day. Final summary in one sentence. Krishnavans of the Rashtrakutas' death defeated the mighty Chalukyas in 757 CE, ended their 200-year rule, and rose as the new superpower of South India, changing the political landscape forever. Let me know if you want a timeline, character list, or a visual map to go with this summary.